Next up, this is the most important part of the entire review. This is the entire reason why I even picked up the Archetype Misha Mansoor X. I thought I was set, but this one thing is the reason why I got the email from Neural DSP and I bought it like 2 seconds later. Today is a wonderful, wonderful day. And the reason for that is because I just picked up the Archetype Misha Mansoor X by Neural DSP. It's such a deal. It's crazy. So first of all, let's dive in a little bit to the Archetype Misha Mansoor X, right? So here we are. This is what you see when it first loads up. So just like every other X from Archetype X plugin from Neural DSP, you have the options here at the top, and that give us a couple of different things. The first one here is special FX. Now, one of the things about the Misha Mansoor that comes a little bit different is it comes with this, it like just messes with the pitch, basically. And it's really interesting. It does kind of a whammy wah sort of vibe while also just creating a really atonal, really interesting kind of effect. I personally don't know how I would use it yet, but it's really interesting. And there's also this glitch effect that is really cool. We'll get into that for sure. I'm just going to show you around first. So this is the special effects that happen before everything else. This is the signal chain. The flow of the audio signal is going from left to right here. So first we have the special effects, and then we're going into the pre-effects, the amp, the cab, the EQ, and then the post-effects. Now, over here below, we have our main tools that we're going to use to utilize this Misha Mansoor X plugin. We have our input gain, which allows us to hit the amp a little bit harder than might be, or a little bit less hard if it's really hard, really hot already. Here we have the gate, and that just allows us to have a really clean sound, no noise or anything. You're not hearing any noise right now. The gate is on. It's awesome. And next here is the wonderful, wonderful transpose function, which I just adore. It allows you to hit some really solid low tones. Like I'm in drop D right now, but now I'm in drop C. Love the transpose function so much. Here we have an input mode. So if we had this as a stereo instance, we could change this to stereo or mono, and that can help with delays and reverbs and stuff like that. And that's why we would want to use that. Next is the actual menu, which we'll find all of our presets, right? As you can see here, we have some presets over here, right? This is just the default sound that you're hearing right now. But we have a whole bunch of presets from Misha himself that go crazy. Like, there's just so many of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17. Okay, there's like 30-something presets here just from Misha. But then we also get these other artists that give us a few presets each, and 2 of which are also in Periphery. We got some of Nolly's own presets that he played around with here. Cleanut Butter is pretty funny. Killy Switchy is one of my favorites because I'm just a huge fan of Kill Switch Engage. And then we also have here, Dane, here we got Jake Bowen doing his own stuff as well, doing his own few presets as well in here, as well as all of these other really crazy and really cool artists that also put their in. And then also Neural DSP has their own suite of presets for the Misha Mansoor X archetype, and that's also really cool. All of these sound pretty solid right out of the gate. You really don't need to do a lot of searching to get a great sound. Even this default sound is pretty solid. I changed it maybe a little bit. That's why there's a little asterisk here. I think I just kind of changed the voice on the amp to the to the not bright one, essentially, and popped up the presence a little bit. I wanted a little bit more meat. That's what's going on there, right? So this is another way to take a look at all these, and it gives you tags here, right, that show you exactly what's going on in the actual preset, and you can save it. You can save it into your presets for something else. You can add it to your favorites, which is what these hearts are right here. Really, really solid. I think the heart is actually somewhat new. So then you have this doubler function. Here we're as a mono instance, but what we can do, if we just move this and we take this over here, move this, instead of mono, put this mono to stereo, right? So now it's going to reload, and you'll see here that the doubler is now clickable as an option, right? The input mode is still mono because the mono is what's coming in, right? Stereo would be if you have 2 mics going. And if you click the doubler, first, this is just how it sounds, right? And again, that's the default sound. Put the doubler on. Notice how much it's just like popped off to the side, and it has a 6 millisecond delay on one side versus the other, which gives it that big sound, right? So here's just again stereo. That's just mono, no doubling whatsoever. Gets you that really solid sort of wide wall of sound without having to do double tracking. Now, is this something that you would use for a final mix or a final recording for like a real release? No, I would definitely still do double tracking. It's better. It's a better sound. It's gonna actually pop out a little bit more in a mix, and it's gonna be thicker. And you're able to blend in different sounds and different amps and cabs and stuff as you do that, which makes for a more robust guitar sound overall. So personally speaking, I wouldn't do that for a real track, but for a demo or for just, whatever, I think that's a pretty solid option. So let's bring this back to mono for now. And yeah, there we are. Then right over here, we just have our output. That's it, right? So we looked at the special effects really quick. Here's what this laser does. Wait, we hit engage. Really interesting, kind of creates like this envelope filter kind of vibe. And there's also a pedal component here, which you can do yourself. Right, so the envelope does its own sort of thing, right? You can see how these go gray when you engage them. You can see as I'm playing, the actual pedal on the thing is moving slightly on its own, right? So that you can get some really weird and interesting sounds with this. It's very, very cool, very interesting. Glitch is also pretty interesting. I was really into the pitch delay component, and this has a really unique kind of sound. You can really you just hear it out. I actually really liked how it is with the full mix in, because you really get to hear exactly what's going on, and it's a really interesting sound. Now over here, with the grain, you have a bunch of different options. You can change the pitch amount, the occurrence. This is like an eighth note, every eighth note, every 16th note, every quarter note. You can change the length as well, change how many bar lengths there are for the loop. You can go for a half bar. It's really, really cool, really interesting. I'm going to play around with that. I don't have a lot of experience with these kinds of effects, actually, so that's something for me to learn and play around with. Next up, this is the most important part of the entire review. This is the entire reason why I even picked up the Archetype Misha Mansoor X, because I was very happy with the guitar sounds that I have, right? I have my pedals down here. I already have Nolly X. I got the Trivium amp knob bundle from Boger & Digital. I got the MLC Sub-Zero amp knob as well from Boger & Digital. I got the PRS Wave Supermodels. I'm set. I thought I was set, but this one thing is the reason why I got the email from Neural DSP and I bought it like 2 seconds later. Get ready for this. Boom! This is the reason why. These two Horizon Devices emulations. Each of these pedals are about $200 each, right? So total, $400. Now, this Horizon Devices is an emulation of their Clarity compressor, which is like Misha's like always on compressor that is kind of quintessential to his tone. We would be remiss to have an Archetype Misha Mansoor X without this, and the fact that Neural DSP gives it to us is kind of amazing. So not only do we have the Clarity compressor here, we also have the Horizon Devices Precision Drive, which is like the best modern overdrive pedal on the market, most likely, right? It just gives you such a fantastic boost, and it's got a gate built into it as well, which is why this is at -80. This is the gate that's really working for us right now, and it is just solid. That we get the compression meter just like on the hardware, right? And if you take it off, back on, you can really hear some of that saturation. Then we take off the precision drive, you can hear what that sounds before and after. Notice how it's a little bit rounder. The mids are a little bit scooped more. Now the low end is cut off a little bit. It's tamed. Then the mids are pushed a little, like classic, boost before a high gain amp. Really, really awesome. Think about it like this. Each of these, first of all, take weeks and weeks to even get made and get sent out to you, and each of them are about $150, $200 each. So right off the gate, just with these two pedals, not even talking about the amps and the cabs and everything, just these two pedals are an almost $400 value that you're getting baked into Misha Mansoor X. That is by far the best part of this plugin for me, at least, because I've had my eye on the Horizon Devices compressor and precision drive for quite a long time. I really wanted to try them out, but they were just out of my budget. But now I was able to pick this up. Right now it's 125 euro or pounds or whatever. These Horizon Devices compressor and precision drive emulations, like Horizon Devices doesn't have these. You can't get these emulations anywhere else. So if you ever thought about picking up either of these pedals, this is the only way you can do it. And the only way you can do it for almost a quarter of the price, which is kind of wild in and of itself. So that is the reason why I picked this up and why it was a complete no-brainer for me. I was just like, I want that sound. I want these pedals. I got to see how this sounds, right? And I didn't do a trial because I knew I was going to buy it anyway. So we have this. Now we have a couple of other things going on here. We have the tape echo, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's an analog delay, essentially, and it allows you to do everything that a delay allows you to do. It's nothing super crazy, nothing like that, right? Then we also have this dual octaver, which is exactly what it sounds like. It gives you a below octave and it gives you an above octave, and it actually has a really cool sound. You get them both up there, you get this really big, lush sound. That was kind of cool. That's a really, really fun one. The drive we just talked about, and it's awesome. Now this one is interesting. This Chaos is apparently, you know what? I'm gonna go to the website because I don't exactly remember what this is. Where are we? Neural DSP. Very cool. All right, so this is the website itself. You can see Misha's rocking out. He's doing his thing. This is the overview. Few and blah, blah, they do the thing. Misha's a boy. He's a boy that we all know and love. So that's the glitch. Now these are the pre-effects that we just talked about, right? These are like faithful emulations of the Horizon Devices pedals. Now this Chaos, this is a Misha custom-built distortion modeled after a DIY pedal inspired by the infamous Swedish chainsaw sound. It delivers a raw, buzzy grind that can be blended with your dry signal for everything from subtle edge to full-on distortion. With a single control, it keeps things simple. So the distortion is what it is. You just decide how much you want to blend it in with the mix knob there. And it can be paired with a high-gain amp for brutal lifts and soaring leads. So let's see exactly what this sounds like. Over the top. Right, so now it's not on at all. I don't know what that riff is. I'm just improvising. Yeah, okay. Yeah, really gritty, really gritty. I actually kind of dig that. Very cool. Very, very cool. So those are our pre-effects, right? So next, let's go into the amp section. Let's go back to the website, see what they have to say about this. So first, we have just a regular clean amp. That's what this guy is right here, right? And this is inspired by a modern American classic. This clean amp delivers a full body, cleans with massive headrooms. It responds beautifully to dynamics, making it the perfect platform for pedals or expressive clean playing. You can push it harder and it breaks up into a thick, harmonically rich overdrive with the kind of character that really moves from glassy cleans to a classic rock crunch with ease. You can engage the boost switch here right there. It has two different voices, right? That one is a little bit more. Here's the... We can turn off our pre-effects right here. Right, and we hit our boost. Pretty solid boost right there. Hit different voicing. I think this is going to be going to a brighter mode. Yeah, so it's a little bit brighter on the different voicings, and then you have the regular amp knobs and amp, controls that you have everywhere else. What's also cool about this is that it has, just like the other X and Archetype plugins, you can click off the amp here and just use the cabinet so that you can really like mix and match to really like find your perfect tone, especially if you're using tools outside of the Archetype X plugin. So you can really dial in your exact tone the way you want it in a way that some other plugins don't actually give you, right? So that is the clean amp. Next is the amp that we were just looking at. This is the rhythm amplifier, right? And let's read a little bit about that here. This is the Rhythm Amp. The Rhythm Amp is a unique and fierce blend of two legendary high-gain amps, purpose-built for tight percussive riffing. It delivers crushing low end and aggressive mids and a razor-sharp attack that keeps even the most complex chugs and chords clear under extreme saturation. This is an amp designed not to just be loud, but to cut through any mix with clarity and authority. Toggle the voice switch to access two distinct EQ voicings, right? So one of them is the sort of lower, and the other one is a brighter switch. So that's great right there for double tracking or quad tracking, because otherwise it's just a mesh of resonances, the same resonances that build up over the different gain and the different takes and all of that stuff. So that's the voice switch. You have a bright and a not so bright, a dark, I guess. And its design reflects Misha's love of supercars, complete with turbo-inspired centerpiece that captures the power under the hood. Yeah, so what this looks like is essentially a turbocharger in like a sports car or something. A turbocharger is essentially a piece of hardware that attaches to the end of an exhaust in a car, right? And so you have kind of two things happening. You have the exhaust, and then part of the exhaust goes into the turbocharger, which then feeds in. It kind of like literally spins this turbine and feeds the air back into the intake of the engine, making it go faster, making it have better fuel economy. It's overall like a pretty solid thing. However, it does wear out the engine a little bit more. But you can see how you see this turbine here that's really evoking the turbocharger. If you follow Misha on Instagram or anything, like you've seen his car posts and stuff, like he's a car guy. He's a car guy. All right, so that is the rhythm amp. Now let's talk about the the lead amp, I guess. So the lead amp is inspired, let's read again, inspired by custom modded British classics and purpose-built for expressive solos and singing lead lines, a redesigned tone stack and added gain stage give it a rich voice with endless sustain and a smooth yet biting edge. It brings lead tones to life with both power and personality. The voice toggle switch toggles between two EQ voicings, adding extra bite when you need to cut through the mix. Its design reflects Misha's taste for sleek and minimalist products, understated on the surface, but powerful and refined performance. This also kind of gives me a little bit of those sort of mini amp vibes, especially like the EVH. You can see the EVH 5150 vibes. You can see the tubes in there, and it's got an interesting sound. It's supposed to be lead, so let's do lead stuff. And then down here, let's hear what that sounds. Oh, interesting. Let's make sure we have these guys on. That's going to make it sound a little bit better. That was just the amp, right? So now we have our pre-effects on again. Solid sustain. Pretty solid. And that's not even that much gain. That's just up at noon, how it sounds. Yeah, okay, one is much crispier, more sizzlier, will really cut through the mix a little bit more. The other is a lot more round, a little bit more, what's the word? It kind of like, it's a little more chill, right? It's a little bit, I actually kind of like this darker one. That's actually really clear distortion sound. You can really hear the harmony there on the thirds really, really clearly. There's not, even though the gain is cranked, it's really, not that harsh and not too like flubby in the harmony. There's real clarity to this. Very, very cool. So that's the lead amp, right? Now let's talk about the Cabsim component, and that's over here. That's what this section is for. Now, the cool thing about this is you can not only change the microphones here, right? But you can also you can add in a room send, which can be a really interesting sound. If we add this, we can change the mic level, we can change the mic distance. You can really hear the differences with all of these, and it's still, no matter what you do here, it still sounds great. You can turn off one of these, change different mics. This is like the standard Cabsim stuff from Neural DSP and the Archetype stuff. So there's nothing really crazy here. I do love this room send feature because it allows you to have this sort of, I don't know, like it really adds this depth to the sound. So let's hear a little bit about what they have to say about the Cabsim. Now, the cabinet you play through is a huge part of your tone, and this section gives you complete control over it. Each amp comes with a matching cab, but you can freely mix and match them to unlock even more tonal possibilities. The clean cab is a 1x12 loaded with an Eminence GA speaker known for its balance, its sparkle, and depth. You really can actually hear that for sure. If we go back to the amp section, go back to this clean amp, it really does. All right, let's take off these. Actually, let's leave the compressor on. Go back here. That is just beautiful. That is a beautiful, clean sound. There's nothing, no notes on that. No notes on that whatsoever. The rhythm cab is a 4x12 fitted with vintage 30s, right? Classic. That is just the sound that everybody uses. Gives you crushing low end and aggressive mids. The lead cab is a classic 4x12 with G12M greenbacks. Totally different. That's why partly why it has such a different sound, offering mid-range punch and smooth top end that helps solos cut through with clarity and power. Now, each cab includes 126 IRs captured by Nolly for a total of 378 IRs. That's too many. I don't want to deal with that. Seven virtual microphones can be dragged and placed anywhere around the speakers for endless tonal options. There's too many options. You don't just use the presets, honestly. Like, dial it in a little bit, but don't go crazy with it if you don't want to. Run it in mono or switch to stereo to add a second mic with full control over panning and level. This module also serves as a standard IR loader, so you can throw in your own IRs, right? You can really put those in. It looks like you can also change the phase down here as well. And let me see, custom IR. You can just load that in right there. Very, very cool. Now, this is another really cool thing. If you toggle this right here, this changes. You see how these pop up right there? I'm going to toggle it one more time. They pop up. That means now you can swap the amps with the cabinet. So now we're on the clean cabinet, right? The clean amp. If we switch to this now, see how the cab changed underneath it? Now it's the next one. Something that Glenn Fricker from Spectrum Media tends to say is that the speaker, the cab, and the microphone are the things that change guitar tone more than anything. More so than the more so than the amp, more so than the pickups, more so than the strings, especially more so than the wood. And I tend to agree with him. He definitely knows more than I do, so I'm going to agree with him, just for my own sanity. But it's really cool that you can mix and match these. Again, this you can do with any Archetype X plugin, but the tonal possibilities are endless. And for your own sanity, just use the presets. That's probably what I'm going to do. You'll be tweaking forever otherwise, which is fine if that's what you want to do. But if you don't, you want to just get to playing music, use the presets, dial it in just a little bit. So there's a lot that you can do with this, and it's really, really fun. Let's keep going, right? So that's the cabinet. So we have the room mics here. This is the room send that I was talking about. It gave you that depth, right? So finally, let's talk about the EQ. Now, the EQ here, really, really interesting. What's cool about it, everything's interesting to me, right? Now, what's nice about this EQ is it essentially kind of acts as almost like the EQ at the very end of your, almost at the end of your, what's it called? Your your pedal board almost. So you can click the power on here, and it comes with a couple of things. Let's read about it first, so in case I don't miss anything. So the EQ is 9-band graphic equalizer featuring high and low pass filters. Awesome. Allows for total control over frequency response. Each amp has its own dedicated EQ. So that is interesting, right? So if we're here, we go to that one, new EQ, new EQ. So we have different EQs here. And we can roll this off, right? So this is our high pass filter. We can turn it off. We can roll all the way up to 500. Hear that? Now there's like nothing in there. But if we wanted to ease it up a little bit, which is very common, especially for getting things to sit well in a mix, you can honestly bring this up even to like 110 or 120. Give some room in the bass, give some room in the mix for the bass. And the same thing here, we don't need everything all the way up to 20K. We can roll this off down to like 10 or something, as well as, and that'll also take away some weird harmonics. It's like, right, you can't hear any difference. Yeah. So those are the EQs. Hear how that sounds. And again, the way you can see how these already have their own features in there, right? You can see plus 0.25, plus 2.5, plus 1.3. So these are already set on these, on these amps. There's already some slight stuff going on, and notice how the slight movements actually do help. So let's go back here. So there's, again, very slight differences, but in a mix, that makes all the difference. So those are the EQs, right? Now let's talk about post effects. Now, first we have the modulator. This isn't your typical modulation pedal. That's right over here. So that's our EQ, right? Post EQ. Now we have, this is basically like the FX loop stuff. This is our delay, our reverb, our modulator. Let's talk about the modulator first. This isn't your typical modulation pedal, according to Neural DSP. It's inspired by a legendary classic and enhanced with an expression pedal. It blends lush colors and sweeping flanger, whatever textures into one versatile unit and then takes things much further. Pedal mode lets you use an expression pedal to control speed, depth, and mix in a single sweep, and opening up movement and transitions that feel alive and dynamic. Switch to auto mode, and a semi-random LFO, a low-frequency oscillator, takes over like a virtual foot, sweeping the effect in sync with the tempo. With dedicated controls for speed and randomness, you control how fast it moves and how unpredictable it becomes. With its super wide stereo imaging, the modulator transforms your sound in ways no ordinary chorus or flanger can. So let's go back. I'm just going to dive right back into here and make sure those are on. Cool, back here. So let's engage this. And you can change all this. You can change the depth so that it's just like that. No mix in the mix, right? Change the rate. Right? And then this is the auto function that they were talking about. You put it up here, auto random. Okay, and that was the chorus. Flanger is a little bit different. Change that a little bit. So this is really cool, really something fun to play around with, right? Very cool. So next is the delay over here. Let's talk about the delay before we dive into it. Anyone who has listened to Periphery knows how important delay is to Misha's sound. Those shimmering echoes, spacious layers are part of what defines his music. Yeah, totally. I think it's a fair thing to say. So when building this plugin, we knew the delay had to be uncompromising. Inspired by one of the most iconic studio units ever made, it can deliver crystal clear repeats that stay out of the way of your dry signal, or evolve into spacious modulated echoes for atmosphere. With tempo sync and detailed EQ shaping, the repeats sit naturally in any mix without clutter. That's huge, so you don't have to deal with that. Like, as an engineer, that sucks to have to deal with, honestly. I mean, you can use a whole bunch of tricks in order to do it, but this sounds like they're taking care of some of that for you. Now, its secret weapon is the built-in ducker. The delay automatically lowers in volume while you play, then swells back in the gaps. That's cool. This keeps your playing clear and focused while surrounding it with ambiance. It's just as useful for tight riffs as it is for soaring leads and atmospheric layers. You can select stereo, inverted phase, and ping pong modes, let you shape how the echoes move through the stereo field, while filters and modulation give you detailed control over their character. So let's hear a little bit how it sounds. Okay, engage. Yeah, that sits. Ooh. Very nice. And that's on ping pong. So let's put the ducker up a little bit. Okay, that's cool. All right, that syncs to there, then free. That's really cool so far. So this looks like a high pass. Yeah, this is a high pass and this is a low pass. So what this allows you to do is to really tame and EQ some of the delay itself, right? So it's not going to hit the same resonances as your dry signal. So that's really cool. So I don't really have much to say about this. It's a delay pedal. It does its job. Turn up the feedback to really, dial that in. This is a pretty solid delay pedal. I'm going to use this 100%, right? So next, let's talk about the reverb pedal. Misha's music has always leaned on reverb to create space. That's what reverb is for, not just Misha's music, but whatever. To capture that, we created a 2-in-1 special, a faithful recreation of his favorite boutique unit, plus a custom shimmer mode for when you want something more ethereal. Normal mode delivers that lush vintage digital character Misha swears by, while shimmer lifts the sound with pitch-shifted harmonics that sparkle on top of the reverb tail. Oh, that's cool. With simple controls, it's easy to dial in anything from subtle ambiance to expansive soundscapes in seconds. Let's see what's going on with that. So here's just the original, Oh yeah, wow, that's got a sound to it. Let's turn off the drive a little bit. We can really get to hear it. Yeah. Just turn the decay down a little bit. You can even turn the pre-delay up a little bit. Down in the mix, right? And then this is, again, low. This is a high pass and a low pass. The fact that these keep coming with all of these is really solid, because all of these effects require some EQ to make it sit well in a mix, and they're giving you those tools right out of the gate on the pedal. That's fucking awesome. That's a little bit better. Turn it down in the mix a little bit. Really, really nice. Let's hear what that shimmer sounds like. Hey now. That's really, really cool. That's really, really cool. Very, very solid. I'm a fan. I'm a fan of that so far. And then it has all the global features that we just talked about at the very beginning. Transpose, doubler, the tuner. Oh, there's a tuner and a metronome in there too. That's right. Okay, so you go down here, you hit your tuner. You can actually keep it as a live tuner. So then when you bring that down, you hit something, you can still see it playing right there, right? You can still see that. So that's the tuner. That's really, really fun. It's a tuner, right? Nothing crazy about that. There is a metronome, but that I believe is in the non-DAW plugin version. You can put this on as just an application on your computer, and that's where the metronome will come in. I believe that is available in standalone mode only. That's exactly right. So you can use the metronome for that. Pretty standard, again, for all the Archetype X, Archetype X stuff. And then, yeah, presets, all the stuff that we talked about already, preset explorer, and that's it. Standalone mode, and then how to get started, system requirements, all that stuff. Same as other Archetype stuff. So if you have any other Archetype or Neural DSP stuff, it's the same as that. So that is my first impressions of the Archetype Misha Mansoor X from Neural DSP. I think this is going to be a mainstay in my guitar sound, even just for the Horizon Devices compressor and precision drive that you get along with this. Now, this is priced very, very fairly, just like the other ones. It's $125. New customers 20% off when you get 2 plugins. Returning customers 20% off all plugins. So if you already have Neural DSP, anything, you'll get, like in this case, $25 off. Neural DSP, they blew this out of the water. The fact that we get the compressor and the precision drive here from Horizon Devices as emulations, those aren't available anywhere else. Like, those alone are more than worth the cost of this Cabsim, right? So I highly recommend it. This is 100% a get it. Like I said, I got the email and got it about within 5 minutes. So definitely go and check this out. Check out the 14-day free trial. Where is that? It's around here. There's a 14-day free trial, but you're probably going to get it anyway. But it's kind of just a tease. Like, don't do that to yourself. Don't get the 14-day free trial and then see how freaking awesome it is and then just not get it. That just sucks. Let me know what you thought down in the comments below. Let me know if there's another Cabsim that you would like me to check out and like to get my impressions on. Happy to do that. This stuff is pretty fun for me. But again, I'm not a tone tweaker. So if you're the kind of person who just wants to get good tone and just get to playing, I'm your guy, right? So come to me, talk to me, ask me questions. I'll help you out. That's all I got for you today. Like this video with a thumbs up, do the hype thing. That's a new thing that's going on. And share this with anybody else. This is a brand new plugin. This is a brand new release from Neural DSP. So we're right at the beginning of this. There's going to be updates. There's going to be more stuff, and it's just going to be a great time. There are tons and tons of plugins here. This is already a crazy long video, but there are tons and tons of plugins here. Let me know in a comment below if you want me to do another video where I go through some of the presets here that are included with the Misha Mansoor X. Thanks for coming on this journey with me, checking out the Archetype Misha Mansoor X, and have a fantastic rest of your day, I guess, if you want to have a good day. If you don't want to have a good day, don't have a good day. I'm not going to tell you what to do. All right, peace out. Bye.